So I thought I'd start with the lower level graded readers first because often these are the ones that beginner readers really need to have a good variety of texts. And as we've already talked about with Kazuma, some of the basics, the Oxford Reading Tree, are not necessarily the best for really young beginners, not just young, but beginners. So I thought I'd introduce a series which we have introduced to the library at the school, which is the Peapod readers. Now, I'm not sure if this is very widely known in Japan yet. It's a series from Collins, and it is designed as kind of a core series for young learners in the same way that Oxford Reading Tree is, but it's EFL, or it's not, they're graded readers. They're not designed for native speakers of English. So they are excellent for those beginner readers and going right through to around 0.8 of Yomi Yasusa. So I'd say they start roughly at a 0.2 and go through to a 0.8. So as you can see here, there are 100 titles at the lower levels, which that would be like 0.2 to 0.5. And then the 100 titles at the higher levels, which would be around 0.4 to 0.8 or 0.5 to 0.8. So they fill a very, very important gap that I think the Oxford Reading Tree doesn't really cover because the vocabulary is very much graded for language learners. So I'm just trying to, oh, hang on. How do I do this? Hang on, there we go. All right, so just to give you an idea of what they look like on the inside, this is the level 1 reader, Say Hello. I Say Hello. And they start with, this is the very basic level, as you can see, extremely basic, and go through like this, very repetitive. The pictures are very bright, cheerful, font's easy to read, and it's just perfect for beginning readers. Going through to the next reader level, which is level 2. Once again, extremely bright and colourful. And introducing question forms. It's largely in present tense, so that's really good for beginner readers as well. And we go through this kind of text. Birds live in nests, 3 baby birds, and up to level 3. And these are the characters, just the same way that Oxford Reading Tree has Biff, Chip, and Kipper. We've got these 2 here, Ivy and Mac, and they do grow up a little bit throughout the series. And they're brother and sister. And once again, it's a very natural sounding English, I think, but aimed at beginner learners. So up to level 4, you can see that Ivy has grown up a little bit and we have more text. So level 4 will be around a 0.6, I'd say, for Yomi Yasusa. And once again, very easy to read. And the highest level for this series, which is the level 5. And that's almost like chapter books. They have sort of small books. Some are called chapters and some just have like a little heading. And you can see that there's a little bit more to it. And that goes up to a 0.8 on Yomi Yasusa. In terms of headword, we're talking about level 1 has 80 headwords and level 5 has 820 headwords. So there's quite a range, but because there's 200 books, you can use them quite a lot throughout the learning experience. So they're well laid out, easy to read, bright, colorful. Also, they have British and American options. English, I mean. I've chosen the American English ones just because I live in Japan and that seems like the most obvious choice. They also have audio available for all of the books, which is also very, very good. So yes, Peapod Readers is my first pick. Next, this is from the Scholastic Popcorn ELT Readers. Now, this is an older series and is actually gone out of print or going out of print, but is still widely available and is still a very big part of our sort of beginner level in the library. 4 levels, starter, 1, 2, 3, and from YL 0.6 to a 0.9, there are 60 books, mostly based on movie and TV shows, hence the popcorn reading aspect. Vocabulary is great for learners. So even though I'm not particularly keen on movies and TV-based books, the kids seem to love it. And even though they're a few years old, everyone still loves Mr. Bean. You know, it's very good. And SpongeBob, he's still around going strong, and the kids love reading this. And I use this a lot with junior high school students. They seem to really enjoy the vocabulary level is low, but it's entertaining. So it's pretty good. Hachiko is also a popular title and looks kind of like this on the inside. Very simple. And I highly recommend this series. There's Ice Age, one of the higher level ones. So as you can see, older movies. All right, next series, which I want to recommend is the eFuture Vera the Alien Hunter series. I'm sure there's probably quite a few of you who have come across it before, but if you haven't, you should definitely have it in your collection. And Vera is a little girl. She has a blue alien cat called Luca, and they have adventures, basically. But the style of it is extremely good for beginning reading. It starts at about a 0.5, and then over 3 levels, it gets to about 0.9. So the kids can read through each 6-book level. And it looks like this. It's cartoons. The language is very simple. There's repetition. There's the pictures are great. There's a lot to recommend for this series. It's certainly one of the most popular ones. And yeah, I mean, it does kind of look a bit like Doraemon, I guess. That doesn't exactly, yeah, I think that helps a little bit, quite frankly. So there's also it's an ongoing story. So Vera and Luca are trying to protect the Earth from alien invasion. And of course, Luca is an alien, even though he looks like a cat. So that's the story over the 18-book series. There's an app. There's MP3 download for the audio, all free. Worksheets, texts, tests. There's even flashcard materials that you can download. So it's pretty comprehensive as to what they give you as a teacher to sort of complement what the kids would be reading. Here's a little bit more from the adventures. They really have done a very good job with the cartoons. They also, eFuture also have very popular Magic Adventures series and School Adventures series. Similar cartoons and just as popular. The School Adventures one goes a bit higher in level. So I would start kids usually with Magic Adventures, then Vera, then School Adventures, just so that they can go through the different levels. So School Adventures goes right up to, I think, a Yomiyasu of about 1 point something. So it's a higher level read. So yeah, that's the first little bit that I was going to share. Just about the younger or lower level graded readers for kids and junior high, honestly, except for the Peapod tend to be just for younger kids, but the other ones, the junior high and above, absolutely love it. So yeah, they're really, really good. Okay.
My university students love them as well. So
Yes, I was gonna say, yeah.
definitely it doesn't stop there.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like even adults, nobody has said, oh, I don't like that Vera, she's a bit strange. Everyone loves it. So yeah, highly recommend.
Right.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you, thank you. Our next speaker is Paul McAleese, who's going to talk about, I know, junior high level and with his books, the Pōmaka books. So I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, Jackie. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much. Yes, so I'm Paul McAleese, and I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to Pōmaka, graded readers. But let me give you some background first. I'm an associate professor at NICE in Nara here in Japan, and I've been using extensive reading for about 10 years now. You can see in this photo here, some of my extensive reading students, my extensive reading Japanese students. This is about 5 years ago. And one problem that I encountered in my context was the students were having trouble finding graded readers that they could relate to or engage with, at least as young adult university students. And then when they found a reader, they generally finished it pretty quickly and then spent a lot of time trying to find the next reader. So I had this idea that I would write a fictional series of graded readers for them. And because it will be a series based on sort of the same characters following the same storyline, that if they liked the reader, the first graded reader, then they could continue through and read the whole series without spending a lot of time trying to find new books. So this is where I had my idea of, I'll just change the slides here, Breaking Free, a University Diary series. And it follows the story of a university student who has a lot of problems in her life, but she has this dream to be a designer. And one day she has an accident with her smartphone and she runs into this international student and her life starts to change in interesting ways. So I spent a lot of time writing it and rewriting it and grading it and editing it. But luckily at that time, I had already had some experience publishing graded readers through Helico. So I had a sort of basic idea on the graded reader writing process. And I had some of my students read it when I finished it. And much to my surprise, they really, really liked the books. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll try publishing them independently. So I'm just going to reshare my screen here if I can. Just give me a second here. Actually, I'm just going to unshare and reshare, I think. Okay, I'm just going to switch over here. So I decided to publish them under the Pōmaka name because Pōmaka was this language learning website that I had already been running. And I'll just bring up the graded readers there here now. So this is the series down here, Breaking Free, the 5 books. And then Paul Goldberg at X Reading kindly let me put the books onto the platform, which gave them sort of exposure to a much larger reading audience. Here they are on X Reading. Well, here's the first book on X Reading. Let me just switch that over. And this gave me also data on the books. And yeah, I was very happy to see that a lot of students were reading the series, and they were also giving the series very high ratings. So I thought, wow, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I have actually got some students to do more extensive reading. And it motivated me to continue writing graded readers. Next, I wrote the Stranger in Japan series. And then more recently, this has just been published this year, the Rising Star series, which Trina kindly used her expertise in editing for me. Thank you very much, Trina. I think you're here somewhere today. By the way, these three series that I've been talking about so far are around about the 800 headword level. And then I decided I wanted to sort of try pitching them a bit lower, and I wrote 3 more books. Actually, I wrote these a few years ago at the 400 headword range. And these also became quite popular with high school students. So not only university students, but also high school students with those lower headword level books. And I also went on to publish 5 nonfiction graded readers on self-help language learning. I think almost all of the books I have now have mReader quizzes, and I've also been really lucky enough to be able to put them on other platforms like eStation and Maruzen Mel. I think I've probably run out of time now. So what I'm going to do is, if you're interested in the readers, I'll post the link into the comments here. So yeah, Polmaca is a still very small but growing publisher of graded readers, and I think we've got 3 more scheduled to come out later this year. So I'll try to keep everyone posted. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much,
my
Paul.
screen, don't I?
Yeah. Thank you very much. You're a very busy man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I
great to hear that.
don't get a lot of
we're
sleep,
coming
Jackie. So. Thank you.
Let's see. Right. Thank you very much. Right. From there, we are going to Sandra, who is going to talk about the Seed Learners and Usborne. So, Sandra, again, please.
Okay, I just happen to have the books with me, so bear with me. First, Paul, I have a grade 4 girl reading Breaking Free at the moment and absolutely loving it, which I was very surprised, but it goes to show it has universal appeal.
Yeah, I was originally pitching them towards university students, but I've actually been surprised because I can see the reviews on X Reading, and there are quite a few high schools that come through as well. So I'm very happy that high school students are also reading it.
And
Actually,
elementary.
oh, sorry.
Elementary.
Sorry, did you say elementary? Wow.
Elementary school. Grade 5. Yes.
Very impressed.
I know.
So, pass on my regards and thanks to her.
I shall. Okay, so first I'd like to introduce the Seed Culture Readers Foods series. These books here, there's a 20-book series, and honestly, these are probably the most popular books I've added to the library in the last 3-4 years. They haven't even made it onto the shelves. They sit in a special place because everybody just keeps getting them out all the time. And it's always been a bit of a puzzle to me. Well, not really. I suppose they are really, really good. I should say that. But I've never seen anything quite like it when it comes to popularity. So I'll just bring up the photo so you can see what they look like on the inside. So it is a 20-book series. There are 4 levels around a YL 0.9 to 1.5. So it hits that sweet spot for from kids to adults, which is part of the reason they're so popular. I'd say the other reason is that, as we know, living in Japan, I mean, food is popular. So anything that's going to be about food is going to go down very well. So each book has a general introduction to the country. So this is obviously foods from Mexico. Then it outlines 3 foods from that country. And so we've got some tacos here. Sorry to make everyone get a bit hungry. They use simple language. There's good pictures. They're well labeled so you can see what everything is. And here we go. Some English food. Yes. Some fish and chips. Always very good. They are suitable for such a wide range of readers. And I often have students getting them out more than one time because they just really love looking at the pictures. Now, these ones here are also from Seed Learning, and this is the Classic Art Readers series. And this is quite a new one. So I think it's new this year. The food was last year, and then the art this year. Also very, very popular. Also 20 book series. Also 4 levels. Also around the same YL. And so yeah, 0.9 to 1.5, like a Cepher of A2 to, they say B1, but I wouldn't say they're quite that high. And the books look at the life of the artist, and then as they go through, they show the works from that artist. And they cover from the Renaissance right through to contemporary modern artists. And once again, extremely popular. Not too long, 600 to 900 words. So the level 4 will be around 900, just under 900 words. And wonderful pictures once again. So yeah, extremely popular. Okay, on to something completely different, which is the Usborne books. Now, I don't know if people have the same upbringing that I did, but I grew up on Usborne books. I think most kids around my age would have been privileged to have Usborne books in their vicinity. Well, recently Usborne have created and launched this Usborne English Readers series. So it is a graded reader series aimed at English language learners. So whereas their regular books are leveled readers, they've taken out the strange vocabulary, and they have done a very good job of grading them for the English language learners. This is, well, actually, yes, a finalist, but also a really good book, The Baobab Tree, just as an example. This is from the starter level. There are 4 levels, starter to level 3, and this is around a YL of 0.6, and then the level 3 goes right up to YL of 2. So it's quite a range. So I use mostly starter level 1, I would say, that they get the high use from all of the books that they have in the series. So yeah, the pictures are great, the story's fun, it's quite natural sounding English. It doesn't sound like it's been created artificially for a graded reader. It's really good for confident elementary school readers, but junior high and adult also really, really enjoy them as well. So they also have online audio available in British and American English. So highly recommend the Usborne series, which look like this. So they have all sorts of wonderful classic titles, as well as some, yeah, great illustrations. So there we go. So that's 3 there.
Okay, thank you once again, Sandra. And our next speaker is Heather Dixon from iTalk Utah. Heather, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute if you're trying to speak.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes, thank you.
Okay, great. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about our books. So I'm Heather Dixon, and I'm the co-founder and director of iTalk Utah Press. And we're based in Shimane Prefecture in Japan. And we've been writing and publishing graded readers since 2013. So we're 11 years old. So we mainly publish English graded readers. We've got 113 at the moment. And last month we started publishing Japanese graded readers. We only have 10 in that series at the moment, but we're going to keep on publishing the Japanese graded readers. So both I and my co-founder, Patricia Morrow, have over 20 years of experience of teaching English in Japan. And when we started, we originally wrote stories for our students. And we wrote from the perspective of teachers in Japan. So initially, a lot of our books featured Japanese characters and they were set in Japan. And these books were, and they remain, very popular, but now our books are more diverse. So our books feature characters and locations from all different parts of the world. And this has given our books a more global appeal. So we have 4 levels, the graded to Sephora levels. So we start at A1 and we go up to B2. I'll just show you some of our books. So this is, hope you can see it okay, this is Haruna's Story. This is one of our first graded readers. And it was about, as you can probably tell, it was about a lady called Haruna. And then we had Salaryman Secrets. Again, it's quite a Japan-centric book. It's a book of true stories about salarymen. And another book, which was one of our original books, called Akiko and Amy, which was about 2 ladies called Akiko and Amy. So we started with very Japan-centric books, but then we started to diversify. And for example, we have a book, Old Jack's Ghost Stories from Scotland. And On the Run, this is set in Italy, and this book won the Language Learner Literature Award. This is quite a thick book. It's our longest book. It's about 100 pages. We have books of short stories as well, which do quite well. For example, Christmas Tales, with stories about Christmas from around the world. Another book is a romance. This is set in Australia. And a book set in New Zealand called The Box. So we do have books from different corners of the world. Now, we sell ebooks and paperbacks, and our ebooks are available in Japan on Marazen eBook Library and Kinokuniya's Kinoden, and they're also on X-Reading. And as I said, our ebooks are quite popular in Japan, and our paperbacks are quite popular in other countries. So we sell paperbacks through Amazon and through the distribution system. So in 2019 and 2020, we won the Language Learner Literature Award, which was nice. We haven't won it since, but we're trying. The book I wrote, which won, was called The Diary. And this has become one of our bestsellers. And it was featured on NHK, which is the national Japanese TV broadcaster, which was also quite nice. So we were quite pleased with that. So we have a range of genres, and all our books are contemporary stories. So we don't do retold classics or anything like that. They're mainly contemporary fiction. And they range from mystery and suspense to human drama, human interest and romance. And we have a popular ghost story series. And a main feature of our books is that they're very dialogue heavy. So we emphasize dialogue over description because we want students and readers to actually see the language in action and learn language patterns that they can actually use in their daily lives. So yeah. Heavy on dialogue and light on description is the way I would describe our books, and they're all in British English, not American English. So when we write and publish books, we do so with the reader in mind, and we ask students and readers what they want to read, and we incorporate the feedback into our books. So we're currently preparing our 114th graded reader, and we're busy writing more, and we're also busy preparing some more Japanese graded readers. So yeah, iTalk UTalk Press is keeping me busy. I'd like to publish more books than we are doing, but we do what we can. So that's about it. If you'd like to see some samples of the books, we're at italkutalk.com. And if you have any questions for me about our series, then you can contact me at info@italkutalk.com. So that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. And it shouldn't be any surprise, but we are going back to Ms. Sandra.
For the last time. Okay.
for the last time, but she's going to talk about the ELI books. So
Okay.
over to
so
you once again.
Thank you very much. I'm a big fan of iTalk, UTalk. Heather knows that. I use them in classes with junior and senior high school students. So they're not just geared towards adults and university. Younger people are thoroughly enjoying them too. So
Thank you.
especially the Konkatsu Tales for some reason was rather popular with a couple of students. So
Yeah, they're a popular. That's a popular series.
Yeah.
I just read Konkatsu Tales for my read aloud at university, and there was a lot of cringe for a few of those.
Yeah.
A lot of really strong reactions from students.
Okay, well, now for something completely different. Ellie books. Now, Corinna earlier actually talked about the German versions of these books, and these are popular books for my English classes. So it was very interesting to hear her talking about the German versions. The Ellie series have been around for a little while, but they are continually putting new titles into the series. There are 4 levels. Level 1 to 4, head word count of about 100 words to 400 words. YL starts at about a 0.5 to a 1.1. So once again, that sweet spot that Kazuma was talking about. They are really good with different characters. So each level has like a series with different characters. So we've got Granny Fix-It, we've got Katie, she's a relatively new character. There's the giant Rumble Dumble, and PB3 the alien, which you would have seen in Corinna's talk. And then as you go up, we've got Harry, who is not a particularly good detective, and Harriet Holmes, who is apparently Sherlock Holmes's daughter. So if I'll just bring up the picture so you can have a little bit more of a look what they actually look like inside. So yes, Granny Fix-It, and this was the book that Corinna had up as well. Granny Fix-It in the Yellow String in English. And it's this, they are colorful. The stories are really interesting. The characters are really interesting. There is audio available, and I thoroughly enjoy using these books in class and for reading at home. So you can see this is a level 1 reader, so around a 0.56 YL level. Then we go up to level 2. This is a recent one. I think it came out this year. Rumble Dumble and the Storm. Everyone's afraid of the big horrible giant except for the kids. And then there's a big storm, and then of course he helps out the town and everything is absolutely wonderful. So once again, so colorful, really good, and good for all levels. Even adults enjoy these. This is Harry, the hapless detective, who is not a very good detective. He tends to just eat sandwiches and accidentally solve crimes. But very interesting stories. Now, the stage 4 also have these characters, but they also have a real lives series, which show kids from around the world and how they live in different countries. So this is Juanita and her alpaca, and looks like this. So you get to learn a little bit about the country and what the children's lives are like in these different countries. And they have all around the world. So there's St. Petersburg, what is there? Sri Lanka, Bolivia, St. Petersburg. So they are also really, really interesting because of that element of these are real kids. Now this is the Ellie Young Readers series. Ellie also have first readers, which I'm not so keen on because for some reason all of the text is in capital letters. Seems it's a little bit passive aggressive for me, but the young readers which I've introduced are really great. Teen Ellie readers are the next level up, and then young adult LE readers, and they go quite high up in terms of Yomi Yasusa. So the most used in my school, at least, is the young readers, LE young readers, is the sweet spot, 0.5 to 1.1. So yeah, that's me for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again. And we are going to have our third poll for the day. Paul Matheson is going to talk about his
We come in
AWL
threes. We
series.
always come in threes.
Right. Nice. So over to you, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces. And if I haven't met you previously, my name is Paul Matheson. I'm just going to try and share my screen now. So hopefully you can see the slides I've prepared for today. Is that working?
Almost. It's coming up. There it is. All good.
Okay. So I have written a graded reader series called My Mysterious Friend Sora, but it's also known as the AWL Readers. And AWL in this case means Academic Word List. So they are a series of graded readers designed to support academic vocabulary learning. A little like Paul McAleese, who talked earlier, I decided to write these books principally for my students, who are medical students. I teach medical students and nursing students, but our medical students learn academic vocabulary as part of their first year English course in a very, very high stakes environment. So they face the prospect of repeating an entire year of medicine if they fail even one subject. And the English course is very difficult. It's a content and language integrated learning course. And the academic vocabulary component of that course is always one of the areas that our students have difficulty with. So I wrote the books as a way to help them with their learning efforts, the academic vocabulary learning efforts. And the story itself follows the adventures and misadventures of a fictional medical student and her very unusual friend. But I should point out that the story, even though I wrote the story essentially for my students, for medical students, it's not a story for medical students. It's a story for academic vocabulary learning. And so it's been used by quite a number of other non-medical university students. In fact, one university here in Japan, Juntendo University, have been using the series as part of their English for Academic Purposes course. And just recently, Paul Goldberg and I were lucky enough to join a Meet the Author event with the Juntendo faculty and students. And they got to ask me about the books and, ask Paul a little bit about extensive reading and about X-reading. So they are written about medical students, but they are not written specifically for medical students. So what are they? So there's 10 volumes in the series, and they all follow in a chronological path. So the same characters, the same story. And the reason that there are 10 volumes is they are meant to follow the 10 sublists of the academic word list, Averil Coxhead's academic word list. So Averil Coxhead's academic word list has 10 sublists based on frequency. So the words in sublist 1 are the highest frequency words, and the words in sublist 10 are the lowest frequency words. And so the books follow the lists in order. So all of the words appear in the relevant volume of the series. So sublist 1 words all appear in volume 1, sublist 2 words all appear in volume 2, and so on. But there's also systematic recycling of the words throughout the book. So all of the words that were used in the previous book are then recycled in the next book. So sublist 2 words, which are all included in volume 2, are then all recycled again in volume 3. So the idea is that students are getting some repetition, repeated encounters with the words in different contexts. And there's around 3,000 instances of all of the 570 words used. So all words are used at least twice, and some much more than that. They are targeted at intermediate level learners. And the reason for this is, I guess, because they were written for my medical students, who tend to be intermediate level learners. But I think there's also a broader reason for that, which is that I believe that students should really focus on academic vocabulary only once they've really gotten a good grasp of general vocabulary. And in fact, Avril Coxhead's list actually excludes the first 2,000 general words in the old general service list for that reason. But the books throughout the series provide between 95 to 98% coverage of words within the 4,000 BNC COCA range. So squarely in the intermediate level learner range. With the help of Paul Goldberg and Rob Waring, I've made this little graphic which shows the sort of the bang for the buck you get, or learners get, for reading the AWL Readers series. So the total running words are about just over a tick over 80,000 words throughout across the 10 book or 10 volume series. And they get all 570 academic words multiple times by doing that. And you can see the numbers that would be required in terms of reading in order to get that level of exposure to academic words by reading, for example, ungraded fictional texts, and also by reading ungraded academic texts. So I think it's a small amount of work, moderately small amount of work, for a fairly solid return compared to other ways of encountering academic words in multiple instances. Do they work? So do they work in terms of, do they work in helping students to learn academic vocabulary? The short, simple answer is yes. So my colleagues and I recently did a study where we looked at academic vocabulary growth across the length of an English for academic purposes course. So we had pre-test, post-test, and delayed post-test, measuring multiple aspects of academic word knowledge. And we used two versions of the books in that study. So one version was a glossed version. They had Japanese glosses in the margins for AWL words. And the other group read the AWL Readers without glosses, but with words highlighted, academic words highlighted. And the control group didn't read any version of the AWL Readers. And you can see just by looking at the table, the substantial difference that was achieved by the gloss and the non-gloss group compared to the control group. Statistically significant differences in a number of areas, but in every area that we measured, productive knowledge of meaning, productive knowledge of grammar, receptive knowledge of collocations, receptive knowledge of synonyms, and receptive knowledge of L1 meaning. Forget L1 meaning. That was the outlier. I was going to produce a bar graph for this, a really nice bar graph, but I didn't know how to show negative values in a bar graph, so I've ended up with just a good old-fashioned table. But in any event, you can see the quite dramatic difference that the books made on the students who read them in terms of their academic vocabulary growth. So the books are currently available on X-Reading, thanks, Paul, and another shout out for him and his X-Reading platform. And they've been pretty well received based on the reviews I've read. We are hoping to have a print version available. I've been talking about these books for about 2 years now, and every year I've talked about them. I've said maybe next year, maybe next year, maybe next year. So there's been a lot of reasons for why they haven't been able to be printed or available in print form yet. But I'm hoping they'll be available soon, within this decade, let's say that, so I don't end up hamstringing myself again by saying next year, next year, next year. But we're working on it. So for those people who don't have access to X-Reading and would like to get their hands on physical copies, it's in the pipeline. If anyone has any questions or wants to contact me about the books, about the study, or anything else, this is my email address, and I'm happy to field any questions or comments at the end.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, thank you. My my medical students like it as well, because
Great.
it follows their life, right? From a student who's during medical school. So they're really, yeah, that's so thank you for all the work you did to put it together for your students and then to share it with all of us. So
Thank
yes,
you.
many thanks for that. Right, then our last speaker of the day, it was also our first speaker of the day, Rob Waring, is going to talk about the Foundation's Reading Library. So Rob, I will turn it over to you once again.
Okay, hi everybody. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, no.
Yes, okay. The reason is I've got two monitors and I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. I'm looking at you over there, but it's actually over here. Never mind. So I've only got 5 minutes, and I said to Sandra before we started that maybe it's unfair to just talk about the Foundation Reading Library because I have other series out there. So rather than, and I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the Foundation Reading Library series, I want to go through several of the series that I've done. I've done 5 major series of readers, totaling either about 300 or so books, something like that. So the first series I want to show you is, of course, the Foundation Reading Library series. This is a 42 book, 7 level, very, very low level material, starting with 75 different words, going up to 350. It's very popular, and I've had numerous people come to ask me about, please write some more, please write some more. Unfortunately, the bad news is that the publisher doesn't want to do anymore. They used to be published by Thomson, then it became Heinlein, then it became Cengage, and now it's become National Geographic. This sort of generic series doesn't fit the sort of National Geographic image, if you will. So I don't think they want to invest any time and effort into expanding the series, even though it's been a really good seller. When the AI technology gets better for drawing illustrations, I'll definitely get into doing a second series at some point. The reason that's restricting me at the moment is the first series costs around $500,000 just for the art. So I don't have $500,000 to spare right now. So I will be getting onto a second series, I hope, as soon as the AI technology allows that. And I'm currently working on that. The second series I want you to look at is the Footprint Reading Library series. This is a series of books at 8 different levels. And it is, of course, a non-fiction series. And it starts at a much higher level, 800 head words going through to 3,000. And these were, it's not only the book itself, but they also have audio material, and also each one of them has its accompanying video. Now, the text in the book and the text in the video are not identical, but they're very similar. So they also have the videos which are available. Now, this series is available also in Spanish, would you believe, for 12 of the books. Obviously not in Japan, but they are available in Spanish. And of course, they have the absolute latest technology. They have a CD that comes with them. So, which of course our kids don't have anymore, but never mind. They are available with the audio on X-Reading. I don't mean the Spanish ones, but also the English ones, yeah. The next one is the Page Turner series. There are 12 different levels. Many of these have either won or become runner-up in the Language and Literature Award. There's quite a number of them. They start at 200 head words and they top out at 2,400, 12 levels. There's about 5 or 6 books at each level. This is all original fiction, written by some very well-known authors in ELT. There's Sue Leather is in there, Irene Barrell is in there, Margaret Johnson's in there, Richard McAndrew, Julian Tomlinson's written quite a few of these books. And these are authors who are very famous and well-known through the Cambridge series. So we borrowed quite a few of the Cambridge authors for there. And this has been a very well received series. And so please have a look at those. This is the kind of summary of all of them, what they do. You'll see, you'll have the recording. So please go through and look at this. And you can see the different levels. These are core graded readers. These are much higher nonfiction material, 750, 200 to 260, and then 8 to 3,000 and so on. And the rough target audiences here, and so on. So Foundation's Reading Library, the first series that I wrote, was so popular. In fact, it spawned a copy series, which is the building blocks library, which if you look at the building block library is very similar in its design, very similar in the way that the stories are written. The levels are somewhat different. The building blocks library actually goes a bit higher, which is great. And there's also about 50, 60 books of those, I think, as well. So the building blocks library is also very similar to Foundations, but I think Foundations is better. Anyway, the next one are books published by Seed Learning. They're called World History Readers. And this is a series of, I think it's about 60 books. I can't remember. At various different levels, quite high books. And you can see some of the titles there. Industrial Revolution, Benjamin Franklin, and so on and so on. So please go to the Seed Learning website to have a look at all of the various titles there. These are also available on X-Reading and available in paper copies. And you can see here that they also have the latest technology CDs in the back of them. So we have 6 different levels of these. Some of them are quite short, they're not that long, so they're reasonably accessible. At the back of each of these books, there is the comprehension questions and a glossary at the back of each of those books, and a world history timeline, which is at the back of every book as well. The last series I want to talk about is the eFuture Classic Readers. This is a series of 60 books, look like this, and these are again at 6 different levels, all the way up to pre-A1, and they're intentionally written so that they are only up to the 350 head word level, and again the stories are quite short. This is the example, lovely illustrations. And I was the series editor, but also the author of quite a few of these books. At the back of these books, rather interestingly, you can see a picture, which is a story review. So the students can then retell the story from the images in the story. But also, there's a little playlet. And so the students, if they wish to, can act out the story. And quite a few of the phrases and so on from the books themselves are actually used in the books themselves. So if you want to learn more about these things, please contact me. I think my 5 minutes is up, and I think we're done. Thank you.